Good morning, dear children, and myself Tanushree Burman. Here we are again to discuss something new. Okay, so every time we meet, I would like to discuss on a very common issues or problems, and then we'll switch on to the chapter. Okay, and in that way we'll relate the chapter. Now, today I want to mention or I want to discuss something about the opportunities that you all are having. I am very much sure, children, you are having all those opportunities. You have a lot in your life. You are very fortunate to enjoy these things in your life. You compare yourself to the children, those who are very poor. Those children literally don't have anything in their life. In fact, you just see now, you are sitting at home and you are able to take education. You are able to take the classes. You are able to gain knowledge. And this is because your parents are taking efforts for you all so that you take the education and you give your best in your life. But the opportunities are given to you by your parents. You get everything ready-made. You have all the things at your doorstep. You just have to work on it and then reach to the final stage of success. But you just imagine, see, I'll just give you a small example. In your home every day, it must be the situation which arises in everyone's house every day. Today's generation is fond of having junk food. You are also all aware of those things, and you all have a craving for all those things. So mother prepares delicious foods and you just curse or criticize your mother. What everyday same vegetable, lady's finger, everyday cabbage, everyday cauliflower. This is a statement given by you all. But do you think, you just imagine of those people, those who don't get food to eat. Here I am talking about poverty. Poverty, the people, those who are living below this line, living in poverty, they know exactly how the life is. They know the real value of life. They struggle for the things, the basic necessities of their life. And here God has given you the opportunities. You should be thankful to God as well as to your parents, because you are getting everything ready-made. But you are that fortunate. But all the children are not that fortunate. They have to struggle in their life like anything. So based on this, we have a very wonderful story, The Little Match Girl. Short story 7 in your treasure trove. The Little Match Girl. Okay, it is written by Hans Christian Andersen. Okay, it is written by Hans Christian Andersen. Born on April 2, 1805 in Denmark. Died in 1875. Family was not that wealthy. He was studying in a boarding school. He took his education from a boarding school. Okay. And he achieved worldwide fame for fairy tales, for writing fairy tales. Okay. Now this is a pathetic story of a poor girl. It is set in a cold winter night. This girl, she is selling matches in a very chilly cold weather. It is a time of Christmas, New Year's. Okay, the story is set on a New Year's Eve. She sees many dreams of iron stove, dreams of feast, that is Christmas feast you can say, then dreams of Christmas tree, then she dreams of her grandmother, of dead grandmother who is not alive, and finally the death of the match girl. Okay, we'll just quickly go through this. Now, The Little Match Girl, it is written by Hans Christian Andersen. He was born on April 2, 1805 in Denmark, died in 1875. His family, Hans' family, was not wealthy. He took his education from a boarding school which was there for the privileged children, and he got fame for the fairy tales. Okay, he got worldwide fame for writing the fairy tales. So you can consider this as one of his fairy tales. Now, this entire story revolves around poverty. Okay, the title is very apt, The Little Match Girl, since the entire story revolves around poverty of this little match girl. Her problems are taken into consideration, how she faces death, how she faces poverty, and how she experiences life is being described in detail, The Little Match Girl. Then this is a story of a pathetic poor girl. The story is set on a cold winter night. The girl is there to sell matches. She is having matches with her which she has to sell, and she is having that fear in her mind, if she is not able to sell the matches, her father would beat her. So that fear is also there in her mind. She cannot go home without selling the matches. Then she dreams, okay, it is very cold weather. She is barefooted, barehead, and it's very chilly. Her hands are becoming numb, and she is not able to move also because of cold. It is extreme cold over there. And it is New Year's Eve that time. All the houses are decorated, all the lightings are there, windows are decorated, and she sees all the houses from outside. Now, since it is very cold and nobody is there to buy her matches, so she could not sell her matches to anyone. Because it is New Year's Eve and people are not out to purchase her matches, they are inside their houses celebrating New Year's Eve. So since it is very cold, she finds a place in between the corner of the two houses, and she just tried to fold her legs and tried to keep herself warm. Now the technique used by her is, she tries to strike one of the matchstick, and when she strikes one matchstick, a very warm flame comes out from that matchstick, and in that flame she sees, first she dreams of an iron stove, okay, with the brass knobs beautifully decorated. She sees that stove and she feels the warmth of that stove. But as soon as the fire extinguishes, the stove vanishes. So she strikes another matchstick, and in that another matchstick she sees goose roasted with delicious foods. Okay, prunes are there, then goose is there, fully roasted, and all those things are, and she sees, okay, the dining table is beautifully decorated with china wares, and all the food is being served very beautifully in china wares, and she sees in that flame, one roast goose having one fork and knife on it is waddling towards her, means coming towards her. So this is what she sees when she strikes the second matchstick. Okay, that is seeing of she dreams of the Christmas feast. Then immediately the fire extinguishes, the feast also vanishes. Means these things she is trying to visualize. She is visualizing these things. Okay, and the moment the fire extinguishes, the thing also vanishes. So here also the feast also vanishes when the fire is extinguished. Now she strikes another matchstick, and in that flame, she sees beautifully decorated Christmas tree with lots of candles and decorations with all those things, lightings. So she sees a beautiful Christmas tree in that. She is enjoying the sight of the Christmas tree, and after some time again the fire extinguishes, because ultimately it is a matchstick. Some or the other time it will extinguish, and so the fire extinguishes, and as soon as the fire extinguishes, the sight of the Christmas tree is also not there. She is not able to see Christmas tree anymore. Okay. Then finally she strikes another matchstick, and there she sees her grandmother in that flame. The grandmother who had died, her grandmother had died. She sees her grandmother in that flame, and she sees her grandmother moving towards her. And since she didn't want grandmother to go away, because she has experienced till now, if the fire extinguishes, then the things which she is visualizing will also go away. So since she didn't want her grandmother to go, she is continuously striking one after the other matchstick, and in that fire flame she is seeing her grandmother. And she is talking to her grandmother and telling her grandmother to take her along with her to heaven. This little girl is telling her grandmother to take her to heaven, where there will be no hunger, no poverty. She can rest in peace over there. So she is telling to take her to heaven. And after that, in that flame only, she experiences these things, and finally the grandmother takes her in her arms to heaven. Finally grandmother and this little match girl has gone to heaven. And after that, next morning, people see this little match girl lying there in between two houses. There was a beautiful smile on her face, and people thought that she died because of cold. Nobody knew what beautiful visions she had seen before death, what were the things she visualized before death, and happily she died. So this is basically, the story is revolving around hunger and poverty. She is very hungry, she is not having food to eat, she cannot go home. Her home is also in a very bad condition. There are big cracks, straws and rags are used to fill those cracks. Even after taking so much efforts, the winds passes by, because the cracks cannot be healed completely by rags and straws. So her house was in that condition. She was fearful of her father, not able to sell the matches. She did not sell any of the matches, that's why she is not able to move to house. She is barefooted, she is bareheaded, she is not having slippers. Slippers she was wearing when she left home, but it was her mother's slippers. And when she was crossing the road, one of the slippers were carried by the carriages, because it was very big for her. And one remaining slipper was taken away by one boy, and he thinks when he will have children in future, that time it will be of use. So like that, whatever she had was also taken away. She was wearing apron, and in that apron she had pockets in where she had the matchsticks, matchboxes, for which she had come to sell those matchsticks. And she was fearful of her father, because father would beat if she go home without selling the matches and without earning money. So these are the circumstances under which the little match girl is going to sell the matches. And since because of the climatic conditions and because of hunger, poverty and all these things, see, this poor girl is not like y'all who can take education. She is just roaming on the roads. You just imagine the condition of that little girl. You just imagine if you had been in that place. Try to visualize that situation and try to sympathize with this little match girl. You should show a feeling of empathy towards it. So one more lesson we can learn, or the message the writer wants to give, is we should have a feeling of sympathy for these poor people. See, the people all around the city were celebrating Christmas and the New Year, but no one bothered to care for the little girl. If somebody would have helped that little girl, poor little girl, she would have saved. Her life would have been in existence. So because of the negligence of the people also, she had to die. So these circumstances she had to suffer. But at last the writer says that she had seen the beautiful visions, means whatever was there in her heart. See, iron stove means she was longing for the warmthness since it was very cold, and because of poverty she did not have good clothes also to warm herself. Okay, and see the second vision, it is of feast, that means she is hungry, it is denoting hunger. How all the other people are cherishing their food, this girl is not able to cherish because she is so much poor, she cannot have that food when other people are relishing and enjoying their food. The next is of the Christmas tree, big houses, decoration, good houses, Christmas tree, all these things are not within the reach of this little girl. That is why she is visualizing and dreaming these things. And grandmother, the only person who loved her was her grandmother. Okay, that is why she is dreaming of her grandmother, and finally she requests her grandmother to take her along with the grandmother into the heaven, to the heaven. So these are the visions which she sees in the story, which is really very pathetic and heartwarming. The writer writes the story in such a way so that the readers sympathize with the little match girl. Okay, so this is all the background of the story. Once quickly we'll just see the story through PPT. It was the evening before Christmas. Great big snowflakes were falling, carpeting the pavements. A little girl, bareheaded and barefoot, was out walking in the cold. Her mother had given her shoes, but they had been too big for her and she had lost them crossing the street. Then a boy had run off with them. Her feet ached with the cold and her hands were all red and numb. But the poor girl didn't dare go home. She hadn't sold even one box of matches, not one. Her father would beat her for this, for sure. The strong wind pinched at her cheeks and whirled around the neck. So this is the description. The snow was falling continuously. See, you can see in the picture, there is continuously snowfall. The girl is bareheaded. There is nothing like any sort of muffler or any such kind of a thing. You can see it in the picture. She is not having slippers also. When she left home, she were having the shoes. But afterwards, when she was crossing the road, she lost her shoes. It was stuck between the carriages and she had to leave her footwear over there. And continuously there were snowfalls and her hands were becoming numb because of cold. And father will beat if she doesn't sell if she is not able to sell the matchbox. Okay, you can see in the picture. Then, exhausted and chilled to the bone, she found what shelter she could against a wall at the corner of the street. She was so cold, poor girl. If she could just strike one match at least, she could warm her fingers a little. Just one, she thought. Daddy won't ever even notice. So she is thinking ki if at all she could strike just one match to keep herself warm because it was very cold, and she is thinking that father will not even realize ki I am striking the match. Okay, I had used one matchstick. So she took a match from its box and struck it. The little girl cupped her hands around it with it. That moment it seemed as if she was sitting in front of an iron stove and with a fine flame crackling around inside. She would have stretched out her legs to heat them, but suddenly the stove disappeared. The match had gone out. So here now see, she has struck one matchstick. Okay, she has struck one matchstick, and we see that in that matchstick she is visualizing the beautiful stove. You can see in the picture, see there, see here in this stove. Okay, this is a beautiful brass knob stove. She is visualizing this stove now after striking the first matchstick. Okay, so she stretched her legs to warm herself, and afterwards when the fire extinguishes, she sees that the stove has also disappeared. Now, the little girl lit another match. This time it lit up the wall and she could see into the house behind. There was a big table with a pretty tablecloth and candles, all sorts of china crockery, and in the middle a beautiful roast turkey stuffed with chestnuts and apple, and it smelt it good too. So she strikes another matchstick and she sees the beautiful, see this decoration. Goose is there, candles are there, chinawares are there, beautifully covered table is there. So all these things she visualizes when she strikes a second matchstick. The fire extinguishes, okay, and after that this feast is also gone, okay. Now the girl stretched out her arm to taste a little, but all that she touched was the cold grey wall. The banquet was gone, and all that was left was the blackened and burnt stump of a match between her fingers. So she goes nearer to the table to relish those food, and as he goes near to the table, the fire extinguishes, and as the fire extinguishes, the food also disappears. See, here you can see, when she goes near, only a burnt matchstick is there in her hand. Okay. Further we move towards the story. She lit another match. This time what did she see but is in an enormous Christmas tree. The Christmas tree, but the most beautiful tree she had ever seen, sparkling bright with thousands of tiny lights hanging on its branches. Once again the match went out and the tree disappeared, its tiny lights burning back into the stars. She lifted her eyes skywards to see a shooting star. She thought of her grandmother, who before she died told her, when a star goes out, it means somebody has gone to heaven. She struck yet another match and her grandmother appeared. So when she strikes the third matchstick, we see that she visualizes the Christmas tree. See, it is decorated all over, okay, with the lights and all those things. So she visualizes this Christmas tree when she strikes a third matchstick. And she sees all those things, and she's thinking, she's just remembering her grandmother, who before her death had told that whenever the star falls, okay, whenever there is a movement of the star, that means one person is going to heaven. Okay, this was told by her grandmother. Now we move further to the story. Oh grandma, the little girl cried. Now when she strikes fourth matchstick, she sees her grandmother in that flame. Oh grandma, the little girl cried, take me with you. I know you will leave when the matchstick is out, just like the stove, the roast turkey and the Christmas tree. So she struck another match and another to stop her grandmother from leaving her. So now she sees her grandmother in the flame. And she says, when the fire extinguishes, I am very much sure that like the Christmas tree or the feast or the iron stove, you will also disappear. So to prevent her grandmother from disappearing, she keeps on striking the matchstick. Okay. Now she struck a whole handful of matches and her grandmother seemed more beautiful, more beautiful. So she keeps on striking the matches too, so that her grandmother doesn't go out. Okay, that's why she is continuously lighting the matches, and in that beautiful flame, she is seeing her grandmother is becoming more and more beautiful. Beautiful than ever. Then she took the little girl in her arms, and the twin of them flew away up towards the stars where it's never cold. So grandmother took the her grandchild in her arms, and they both happily flew to the heaven where there was no hunger and no poverty. Now the next morning they found the little girl. They means the people found the little girl dead from the cold, her tiny body half buried into the snow. On her face she wore a smile, and nobody could guess what she had seen that night or know how she and her grandmother had gone up with the stars. So people next day when people started moving, they saw this little girl died, and she was just sitting like that. You can see in the picture, see. And she was half buried in the snow. See, half of her body is in the snow. But the people never know what kind of things they were experiencing, she was experiencing in life, or what were the visualizations which she visualized during the last phase of her life. And people really, they never understood what, and there was a beautiful smile on her face when she died. So this story generally revolves around the hunger and poverty. People is feeling sorry after her death, but when she was alive, nobody bothered to purchase a matchstick from her or try to help her or give her food or try to protect her from cold. So these are the different circumstances, difficult circumstances of her life which she faced, and finally she thought that it is better to go to heaven, because in heaven she neither has to face hunger nor poverty nor the hardships of her life. So she found dying more easy than living on this earth. So she requested her grandmother to take her along with her to heaven, and there they both are living very happily without any hunger or without any poverty. They are free from all these problems in their life. They are living happily over there. So like this, Hans Christian Andersen has beautifully depicted poverty and hunger in this story through this little match girl. And that is why the title is also very apt, The Little Match Girl. I request you all to go through the textbook, read the story. It is a beautiful story. It is written in a very simple language, a very innovative and very expressive language. The readers are forced to sympathize with the little girl the way the writer has written the story. So please go to through the story, read it. If you have any doubts, feel free to ask the doubts in the session provided. I thank you all for rendering your ears and be attentive in the class, for being attentive in the class.